Axel was just a broken man with a past he couldn't outrun, a fighter with no future, a soul on borrowed time. But when a deadly drug called HAPNA threatens to wipe out humanity, he's thrown into the heart of a war he never asked for. Dr. Skinner, a man who drastically altered the fate of Earth and its people. He invented a miracle drug called HAPNA, a treatment that could cure any illness. The drug quickly gained popularity for being both effective and affordable. Within 4 years, it had become a global phenomenon, adopted by nearly everyone. However, the situation took a dark turn when Dr. Skinner vanished 3 years ago, and it was revealed that HAPNA was not a miracle, but a trap crafted by Dr. Skinner himself to end humanity. Next, a man named Doug was seen sitting inside an advanced futuristic car, commanding the AI system to play music. When asked for preferences, Doug replied he wanted something that felt as though someone had poured their soul into it. The system complied. Attention then shifted to a massive prison housing dangerous inmates. A mysterious woman entered the facility to meet a specific prisoner. A police officer informed the inmate, Axel Gilberto, that he had a visitor. Known for his agility and parkour skills, Axel was intrigued, since no one had visited him in years. He was brought before the woman, who introduced herself as both a lawyer and an assassin, someone capable of handling any job. Her name was Hirsch, and she offered Axel a deal. She could set him free. Axel laughed at the idea, reminding her that he had been sentenced to 888 years in prison with multiple death sentences. But Hirsch seemed well informed. She knew all about that, and even knew Axel's date of birth, prison ID, height, weight, and all relevant details. When Axel asked what she wanted, Hirsch explained that things outside weren't going as they should. She asked if he had heard the latest news about Dr. Skinner. Axel hadn't. Hirsch then played a video that had taken over every global news outlet. After years of disappearance, Dr. Skinner had reappeared. In the video, he confessed that HAPNA wasn't as miraculous as people believed. He admitted to hidden properties in the drug that would, after 3 years, begin to cause severe side effects. According to him, if someone no longer felt pain or illness, they might already be dead, or at least no different from a corpse. Dr. Skinner announced that within 30 days, anyone who had used HAPNA would start dying. He didn't claim to be a god, someone making humanity face the consequences of its actions. However, he also offered hope. The cure existed, but only he could provide it. Humanity had 30 days to find him. Hirsch then asked for Axel's help in finding Dr. Skinner. Axel questioned her motives and whether she could truly free him. She insisted that the entire world needed him and that lives depended on his cooperation. But Axel, famous for escaping prison, wasn't ready to cooperate. As a guard approached to take him back, Axel attacked, disarming him and pointing the gun at Hirsch. He demanded his restraints be removed, threatening to shoot. The guards complied. Once free, Axel fled, using his superior parkour skills. Other inmates shouted for him to take them along, but he pressed forward, knocking out a pursuing officer. He found a vent, shot it open, and escaped through it. Hirsch reported his escape via walkie-talkie to Doug in a car. Meanwhile, 2 other characters were introduced. Chris, a fiery girl, and Leland, the kid who just abandoned his school after Dr. Skinner's announcement. As Chris scolded Leland for being immature, she was distracted by a cat, which ran away, leaving her annoyed. At the same time, Hirsch instructed a Lina high-tech hacker to track down Axel's current location. Chaos spread across the globe. News reports showed riots outside pharmacies and public outcry against HAPNA. People had begun praying in churches, and leaders struggled to manage the crisis. Despite the panic, creating an antidote within 30 days was deemed impossible even by top scientists. Back in the city, Axel roamed freely. A police officer jokingly questioned his prisoner outfit, not realizing who he was. Moments later, the officer received an alert, identifying Axel as an escaped convict, but by then, Axel had vanished. He changed clothes inside a shop and headed toward the main city via metro. His image was picked up by facial recognition cameras, triggering alerts across public screens. Pursued by police and drones, Axel fought back, dodging and escaping with his agility. Meanwhile, Elena and Chris continued tracking him. Chris, on a high-tech motorcycle, sped ahead, helping to corner him. Axel reached a cliff, but instead of surrendering, he jumped across dangerous platforms with fearless agility. Meanwhile, Leland mourned at a grave, but rushed into action upon learning of Axel's sighting. Chris, Leland, and Doug converged on Axel's location and managed to trap him. Doug pointed a gun at him, warning him not to move. Realizing the ambush, Axel appreciated them for predicting his movements so well. When Axel asked for his name, Doug answered. Axel replied sarcastically, asking him to write on his grave that he was killed by a coward. Doug knew if he did something without thinking, Axel would oversmart him. Axel admitted it, then jumped off the building to accept death. But instead of falling to his doom, Axel grabbed Leland's drone mid-air and descended safely. Just as he prepared to flee again, Chris appeared and asked for a selfie. Amused, Axel asked why, and she replied that she thought he was awesome. She took the selfie, but tricked him. He was shocked, unconscious by a wristband. When he woke up, Axel found himself in an unfamiliar location. Elena was nearby, hiding, clearly intimidated. Axel asked where they were, but she remained silent. Soon, Chris, Leland, and Doug appeared, confirming that what he'd experienced wasn't a dream. Finally, a screen turned on, revealing Hirsch. She told Axel that now he was going to help them find Dr. Skinner. Suddenly, Axel noticed a mysterious wristband on his wrist. Hirsch explained that the wristband was a tracker. Wherever he went, she would know. He quickly realized that everyone around him wore one. Axel realized that the whole team is made up of people, crooks, just like him. Hirsch announced the team's mission, to locate Dr. Skinner before anyone else could. But before she could finish giving orders, Axel lunged toward Chris, snatched her gun, and aimed it at her. He demanded the wristband be removed immediately so he could leave. Hirsch, however, remained calm. She claimed that she'd been fooled once but wouldn't fall for the same trick twice. Chris, concerned, urged Hirsch to take Axel's wristband off. But before any decision could be made, Axel received a strong electric shock through the wristband. Hirsch warned him that the device could administer shocks whenever necessary if he refused to cooperate. Defeated, Axel agreed to comply. He admitted he was curious about Dr. Skinner. Axel's reluctant agreement. The team was now complete. The scene transitioned to the Superior of the United States, who addressed the public, claiming ignorance about HAPNA's dangers. Despite his statement, the public held his administration accountable. LAZARUS team wondered what would happen if they actually managed to capture Dr. Skinner. Axel suggested they could demand a hefty ransom, holding the cure for themselves. But Doug opposed the idea, declaring that they would become heroes instead. This inspired Axel, who sarcastically asked if they were becoming the Avengers. Axel then asked how many of them had ever used HAPNA. One by one, they raised their hands, including Axel. It became clear that if they failed to find Dr. Skinner, they all will be dead by 30 days. Doug designated their location as the team's new base. He explained that Axel was never supposed to be part of this crew. When asked why, he admitted that Axel was a show-off, and he didn't want the added drama. The two stepped outside. Axel commented that the place looked like a dump for a world-saving Avengers. He picked up a rock and tossed it against the wall, only to realize the base was protected by an invisible force field. When Axel scanned his hand on a hidden panel, the gate opened, revealing two futuristic vehicles inside. It was clear. This base was no joke. Next, the team dug through all available records on Dr. Skinner, where he studied, what degrees he held, and his past affiliations. Doug explained that Skinner had entered Cambridge University at age 16 and graduated by 20. He was hailed as a genius, some even calling him the second Einstein. Chris asked if any negative information about him had surfaced. Any dark side. Doug confirmed there was none. Skinner had been admired worldwide and had never committed a known crime. Hirsch interrupted, revealing that she had a video. In it, Dr. Skinner addressed world leaders, warning them that in 3 years, the last iceberg in the Arctic will melt and end the Earth. The audience in the video, composed of international officials, didn't take him seriously. One by one, they left, and after this incident, Dr. Skinner vanished. Leland then shared an online post, claiming that Skinner had once given up his seat to an elderly man on a train. Another post showed him helping a poor man. Chris commented that Skinner seemed too perfect, and Axel joked that the man must have been an angel. Suddenly, Elena declared that she had found something, a clue that might lead them to Skinner's current location. The team loaded up into their advanced cars and drove off to their clue. Meanwhile, in the city, a police officer scolded a reckless driver, but his lecture was interrupted when the team's cars sped by even faster. The officer was left speechless. Inside one vehicle, Chris was driving while Axel rode beside her. Elena, in the base, relayed information to Hirsch and the team, revealing that 8 years ago, Dr. Skinner had joined a nuclear facility. Since such facilities were usually remote and underground, there are chances that Dr. Skinner might be there. Hirsch then ordered Chris and Axel to visit the facility's bunker, while Doug and Leland were sent to visit the facility's office. Elena powered up her advanced computer system to begin scanning every global camera feed for anyone resembling Skinner. While she worked, Chris casually asked Axel about his prison sentence. When he admitted it was 888 years, she slammed the brakes and pointed her gun at him, accusing him of being a menace. Chris then shoved him out of the car, furious that such a long sentence must mean he'd killed dozens. Axel begged her to listen, reminding her that escape attempts added to his sentence. Originally, he had only been sentenced to 3 years, but due to his repeated escapes, it had ballooned into centuries. Elsewhere, Doug and Leland both shared their past story of doing minor crimes. But Doug revealed that Ilana is the dangerous hacker who has committed multiple crimes throughout the world. Eventually, Chris and Axel reached the nuclear bunker while Doug and Leland arrived at another shelter. Chris and Axel cautiously entered, weapons drawn. Axel was surprised to find the facility still powered by automated systems. Meanwhile, Leland and Dogs explored the lab. They found numerous computers and research notes, confirming the place had been used for intense scientific work. Back in the bunker, Chris and Axel heard a noise and moved toward it. They found a man sitting quietly in a chair. At the same time, Leland, heading toward a board at a corner, was held at gunpoint by another stranger demanding to know the location of someone named Kobayashi. Meanwhile, the man in the chair appeared to be Dr. Skinner. Axel was about to inspect him when the gunfire erupted. Both Axel and Chris hide behind the cover. Chris and Axel realized that there are two groups of men. One appeared to be Russian spy, second appeared to be Mexican spy. But then Axel shows Chris his lucky charm. That, according to Axel, makes him invincible. So without wasting any more time, he again jumps into the action. The men follow him, but using his parkour and sneaky skills, Axel knocks following men out. Meanwhile, two police cars were also on their way to the bunker, back with Doug and Leland. A new man appeared and yelled at Doug, accusing him of being Kobayashi and threatening to shoot. After knocking some people, Axel and Chris rushed toward the man in the chair, but police arrived there and ordered them to freeze. But Axel jokingly told them to freeze instead. At that moment, Chris turned on the light. The man in the chair woke up and begged for mercy, insisting he'd pay his debt. Suddenly, Axel punched the man, knocking blood from his nose. Using the blood as a sample, Axel confirmed he was not Dr. Skinner. Everyone realized they had been chasing the wrong person. The man they found was Kobayashi, a tax fugitive, not a world-saving scientist. Now, both the strangers apologized to Leland for holding him at gunpoint, as they thought that Doug and Leland were acquaintances of Kobayashi. Axel and Chris told Doug about all of this. Doug concluded that finding Dr. Skinner might be harder than they had imagined. At last, the real Kobayashi was shown. He confessed that he had taken HAPNA because he didn't want to live anymore. But ironically, the drug wouldn't let him die. Laughing to himself, he wondered if life had given him a second chance. Meanwhile, Elena made an announcement. She had found Dr. Skinner, but the shock came quickly. She revealed that there were over 100,000 people with Skinner's face. The team then started investigating all 100,000 scanned facial images, many of which featured Skinner's face on different individuals. These photos made it seem like someone had edited the images, leading the group to suspect that a hacker was manipulating the data to protect the real Dr. Skinner. Axel remarked that catching him like this would be nearly impossible, and asked if nothing could be done. Elena then stated that there were only 3 hackers in the world capable of such manipulation. One was known as Popcorn Wizard, another as Dr. 909, and the third was herself. Doug suggested that one of the 2 hackers might be helping Skinner, or perhaps both were involved. Hirsch added that it was now clear Skinner hadn't undergone plastic surgery. Otherwise, he wouldn't need to hide his face. Doug agreed, saying they still had a good chance of catching him. Then, Leland and Chris had gone to investigate Skinner's apartment, while Doug and Axel searched for an old professor named Claude who once worked with Skinner at the apartment. Leland and Chris disguised themselves as janitors, but when they arrived, police officers told them they hadn't been summoned and asked them to leave. Leland, thinking quickly, warned the officers that they'd be fined huge amounts for wasting their company's time, causing the officers to let them in. Meanwhile, at Stanford Hospital, Axel was waiting for Doug when a policeman from earlier passed by who didn't seem to recognize Axel. Doug returned and reported that the Professor Claude had retired, gone bankrupt, and was now possibly homeless. Back at Skinner's apartment, Chris complimented Leland for his cleverness. When asked about her previous profession, Chris revealed she had been a secret agent. Leland then used his wristband on the door lock, which magically opened. The apartment was lavish and well-furnished. Elsewhere, Doug and Axel reached an area populated by the homeless. Axel explained that the leader of this slum was someone he once knew, named Jerry, who would surely help them. But when they inquired about Jerry, the locals denied knowing anyone by that name. Leland and Chris, meanwhile, searched the apartment, but found no clues until they discovered a small vial of medicine hidden beneath a sofa cushion. It had the number 5 on it. Chris speculated it could be a cure, but Leland told her not to joke. Back with Doug and Axel, a stranger told them that the in charge of this place is Jill. As Jill approached, she recognized Axel. She hugged him warmly. Jill is none other than Jerry, who has now become a woman. She was happy to see Axel, and said he hadn't changed, though Axel teased her about her transformation. Jill kissed him on the forehead, and said she had missed him deeply. Doug, witnessing the reunion, was speechless, seeing them this close. Jill then asked why they had come. Doug explained that they were searching for Claude, who might have stayed in the area. But Jill refused to help, saying people came there to leave their pasts behind. Many of them had lost everything, and some even wished for the world to end. Doug then shared a personal story. When he was at the academy, someone had told him a black Einstein could never exist. That had hurt him deeply. He fought back. Most people had turned against him except for one person, Professor Claude. Eventually, they located Claude, who was playing chess in a public area. Doug offered a strategic move, helping Claude win the game. Claude was surprised to see his former student. They caught up, and Doug explained that he wasn't just visiting. He needed answers. Claude admitted he had worked with Dr. Skinner years ago, but had eventually quit. He said Skinner had surpassed him in brilliance, which sparked a sense of jealousy in him. Meanwhile, Axel had accepted a basketball challenge for $20 and won effortlessly thanks to his parkour skills, prompting the loser to shout, "Stop jumping like a monkey and play like a human." Claude recalled that the last meaningful conversation he had with Skinner had been about his grandmother's famous baklava. The dessert was so good, Skinner believed no one else could match it. Claude mentioned that Skinner's grandmother used to live in Istanbul, a place in Turkey. Doug then thanked Claude for standing up for him back then, and leaves the place with Axel. Later, Elena managed to track the location of Skinner's grandmother. However, the area was remote and dangerous, with no camera or satellite imagery. Elena warned it would take 6 hours to reach Turkey. Leland and Axel arrived. Elena had activated all surveillance systems, ready to detect any network activity. Before they could proceed, a group of thugs surrounded them. Axel shouted for Leland to run, but he hesitated, so Axel had to fight the attackers. As they escaped, they jumped onto a moving truck. Then they ran across rooftops. Leland fell through and landed in front of a little girl playing with dolls. She mistook him for a prince and invited him for tea. Leland declined, but before he could leave, the thugs caught up and surrounded him. One of them tried to break his wristband. Leland warned that doing so would shock them both. As they pinned him down and prepared to cut his arm, Axel arrived with a gun. But just before the thugs could land a blow on Leland's arm, he yelled, "We just came here to eat baklava from Grandma Belinda." At the mention of the name, they let him go. Doug and the others, elsewhere, worried about the duo's safety. But Doug believed they were likely still alive. Soon, the thugs brought them to a house where they finally met Belinda Skinner's grandmother. She gave some baklava to the thugs and asked them to leave and invited Leland and Axel inside. Inside, they found the house peaceful and calm. Belinda served them baklava, and Leland was amazed at how sweet and delicious it was. When asked who they were, Axel revealed they were secret agents, even shocking Leland. Belinda asked if they had a license to kill, just like James Bond, and Axel confirmed they did. They were there to find out more about Dr. Skinner. Belinda explained that Skinner had lost his parents at a young age, and she had raised him. He was kind and emotional. Leland then noticed a rare flower, which Belinda said Skinner had brought her. It only bloomed once in several years. She played a video message left by Skinner, in which he apologized for not visiting Belinda and promised to return around Christmas. Both agents watched quietly, noting that Skinner didn't seem like such a bad person after all. But Axel wasn't convinced. He found a hidden camera behind the bookshelf and looked into it, and started to warn Skinner that he would come for him soon and he could hide as long as he wanted. It wouldn't matter. Elsewhere, Elena, who had been tracking hacker activity, finally declared that she had found the hacker assisting Skinner. For now, Axel and Leland are back in the base. Hirsch explained that the hacker Dr. 909 is the one assisting Dr. Skinner. Doug explained that Elena had discovered that the hacker had made numerous cryptocurrency payments through hidden wallets. She showed them several recent large transactions made by a person named Sam to Dr. 909, surprising Leland, who commented that this hacker must be incredibly rich. Elena further revealed that Dr. Skinner had vanished from all digital records 3 years ago, something he couldn't have done without the help of a hacker. Doug speculated that the hacker must have done this to gain insider information about the HAPNA, so he could collaborate with Sam and profit from it. Hirsch, furthermore, explained that when HAPNA was first launched, a man named Sam had bought up all the available stock and invested everything he had, becoming a billionaire as a result. The team believed Dr. 909 was working with Sam. If they could catch Sam, they could question him and find a way to reach Dr. Skinner. Upon hearing this, Axel concluded that, whether directly or indirectly, they needed to catch Sam. Next, Elena showed Sam. Chris suspected he was the type of man who used his money to buy luxury and women. Leland challenged that assumption and checked Sam's social media, which confirmed he often flaunted his wealth and royal lifestyle. Later, the four, Doug, Chris, Leland, and Axel headed to the main city to attend a party organized by Sam. Chris dressed in glamorous party wear, while Leland disguised himself as a woman named Laura to potentially attract Sam's attention. Though uncomfortable, Axel reassured him, saying he looked cute and needed to play the part. The party was headlined by a famous DJ known as Visionary, whom Chris recognized and admired as a former fan. As the group got excited, Doug reminded everyone to stay focused on the mission. Meanwhile, Elena reported a strange pattern. Multiple digital transactions had been made recently from different places, and large sums were withdrawn from local ATMs. Hirsch questioned why a skilled hacker like Dr. 909 would use such common methods. Elena replied that even if he did so to hide his real identity, she would still be able to track him. Back at the event, which was called Mile 8, Chris reminded Axel they had to behave like a couple. They locked arms, and so did Doug and Leland. The group entered the club, which was high-tech and filled with people enjoying themselves. As Chris started dancing, Axel tried to reach the upper floor, but was stopped by a guard. He noticed a group showing off their VIP digital tattoo and heading upstairs, so he informed Doug that VIPs were granted access to that area. Elsewhere, Elena monitored ATM activity and identified one person conducting suspicious transactions, though the person's face was not visible. Back at the club, Chris, pretending to be a fan, asked the bartender about Sam. He told her Sam might appear tonight, and if she was lucky, she could meet him. Meanwhile, a VIP guest went to the restroom, where Axel followed and knocked him unconscious. Stealing and scanning his VIP tattoo, Doug encouraged Leland to start dancing to attract attention. And after some hesitation, both Leland and Doug joined the crowd. Their dancing successfully drew attention, especially to Doug. Leland later informed Axel that he had secured access to the upper floor, which made Chris frustrated as she didn't get chosen. Axel joked that Leland really looks better than her, which made Chris angry. Soon after, a helicopter landed. Chris met Leland, and as Chris was with Leland, she was not stopped by the guard to meet Sam. Meanwhile, Elena was shocked to detect another ATM transaction nearby, this time from Babylonia City. She began extracting the information as Sam and Visionary entered the party. Girls flocked to them, including Chris and Leland. Chris introduced Leland in disguise, and herself. Sam casually told Leland to sit beside him without needing introductions. Chris commented on how hardworking Sam was, even checking stock values during the party. Visionary asked Leland for his name, but Leland remained quiet. Sam, meanwhile, noted that the value of HAPNA was dropping, and admitted he had always thought the drug was garbage, though it had made him a millionaire. When Sam tried to put his arm around Leland, he flinched and reacted awkwardly. Chris tried to cover for him, saying Leland was new and kinda shy. Visionary, however, seemed oddly interested in Leland. He took Leland aside, saying he disliked selfish gold diggers and appreciated Leland's innocence. Leland asked Visionary if he was famous and mentioned his upcoming performance. Visionary admitted he didn't feel like performing, but a butler soon reminded him it was time for his set. He asked the staff to ensure Leland didn't escape. Back with Elena and Hirsch, Elena attempted to recover blurry camera footage from 30 minutes possibly of Dr. 909 at the same time. Exile and Doug used the stolen VIP tattoo to access the upper floor, only to be confronted by security, who demanded to know how they obtained the badges. Meanwhile, the girls around Sam started passing out, drunk. Sam sneered that they were all gold diggers and deserved it. He approached Chris, preparing to assault her, claiming no one would stop him. Hearing this, Chris suddenly sat up. She had only been pretending to be drunk. Sam, shocked, asked if she wasn't really drunk. Chris threw her drink and said, "You think I'd pass out from such a cheap drink? You disgust me." Then she beat Sam up, who fell onto Visionary. Elena and Hirsch then enhanced the footage, only to find out that Dr. 909 is none other than Visionary. She soon informed everyone about it. Realizing that their objective is complete, Doug and Axel didn't hold back and began fighting security. Sam, panicking, told Visionary they needed to escape. Chris, meanwhile, shot down any guard who came near. Leland used his device to summon their car via remote control, while Sam and Visionary tried to flee in their helicopter. Axel arrived at the rooftop and started beating security. He then grabbed Chris's hand, and they both shot at more guards. The helicopter took off. Axel then stormed to the launch pad. Chris warned him not to jump, but he did anyway, leaping onto the helicopter. Sam mocked Axel, saying he must have watched too many action movies. Meanwhile, Doug and Leland pursued the helicopter by car. Sam ordered the helicopter's AI to throw Axel off, but the AI refused. Frustrated, Sam kicked it, causing the aircraft to become unstable. Leland launched a glider from the car to save Axel, whose grip had slipped. The glider not only caught him in time, but also had guns mounted. He returned to attack the helicopter just as Sam and Visionary believed they had escaped. Axel appeared beside them. Again, Sam ordered the AI to kill Axel, but the AI refused. Enraged, Sam kicked it repeatedly. But then Axel shot at the helicopter, causing it to crash into the water, as Sam and the Visionary tried to escape. Axel aimed his gun and asked if they preferred telling the truth or dying. Sam begged for his life, offering money in exchange. Axel demanded the location of Dr. Skinner. Visionary claimed not to know, but Sam insisted on an answer. Visionary finally confessed that he had hacked a company involved in HAPNA's development and had acquired their data. Sam handed over Visionary's necklace containing the data. Receiving the necklace, Axel left them to sink, News reports confirmed that Sam and Visionary had been arrested. Though they hadn't found Skinner, Elena said it didn't matter. They now had the name of the company involved in HAPNA's research. That company might know Skinner's whereabouts. Later, a man was sleeping peacefully, only to be jolted awake moments later. As he looked at his smartphone, he was so shocked by what he saw that he threw it away. On the screen was a massive eye, filled with swirling galaxy-like stars. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the team's hidden base, where the group was analyzing the data stolen by Visionary. They discovered that the data had been retrieved from a place called Delta Medicinal. Melania then opened a file, and again, the same mysterious galaxy eye appeared on the screen, prompting Leland to ask what it meant. Hirsch explained that this image had been found within Delta Medicinal's files, though they found no direct information on the drug HAPNA. Elena then mentioned something strange. Multiple audio files had been uploaded from Delta Medicinal to SoundCloud. Chris and Leland joked that maybe some music lover had uploaded them, but Elena insisted the sound was too bizarre. When she played them, the sounds were strange and unrecognizable. Chris questioned if the audio could be some kind of evidence. Doug asked Elena if she could convert the sound into text. As she did, the strange noise transformed into language. Hirsch recognized it as information related to the drug HAPNA, which confirmed a strong connection between Dr. Skinner and the Delta, who had been using SoundCloud to send the information about HAPNA to Dr. Skinner in secrecy. But Doug was kinda suspicious of Hirsch to recognize the data with only one look. AXEL declared it was time to stop waiting. They had to go after Skinner now. Soon after, the team observed a towering building from afar, attempting to fly a drone toward it. However, it couldn't get close due to signal jammers. Leland noted that the rich always had tight security. Chris, positioned on a distant rooftop, said there was no way to jump from nearby buildings, and Doug confirmed the area was heavily guarded, even underground. Through her binoculars, Chris spotted AXEL entering the building. She tried to stop him, but AXEL merely winked at her and proceeded, leaving her wondering what he was planning. Inside, AXEL acted confidently, greeting people casually and heading for the elevator. Security guards began to follow him, and soon, a fight broke out inside the lift. Though they had stun guns, AXEL easily overpowered them and proceeded deeper into the facility. Then we saw the man from earlier revealed to be the CEO of Delta Medicinal. AXEL confronted him and placed his phone in front of him, calmly requesting that he disabled all security systems. Surprisingly, the CEO complied. AXEL then placed the stolen data about HAPNA on the table. Doug, Hirsch, and Chris joined the conversation. Via video call, the CEO asked if they were after money, saying he could pay them if that was the case. AXEL replied that they didn't want money, they wanted to know where Dr. Skinner was. The CEO claimed he had also been searching for Skinner, blaming him for everything that had gone wrong. Doug questioned whether the CEO had realized the dangers of the HAPNA drug during testing. The man admitted they had tested it on monkeys, and one of them had gone insane and died. Its glowing eyes had resembled a galaxy similar to what was going to happen to humans. Doug asked why they hadn't developed an antidote yet. The CEO explained that the entire company's funds were being invested into finding one. That was when AXEL said it was time to stop chasing Skinner and start baiting him instead. Then, showed a document titled Cure for HAPNA. Hirsch had approached her superior, Abel, with the news that a cure had been found, intending to make a major announcement. Abel was shocked, but Hirsch clarified that it was all fake, just bait for Skinner. She believed that if Skinner heard such news, he'd try to investigate, giving them a chance to catch him. Inside Delta Medicinal, the team prepared for the staged announcement. On display were rows of fake medicines, actually just water, with micro-GPS chips embedded. If anyone stole them, they could be tracked. AXEL was posted on the rooftop. Doug was inside the building, while Chris and Leland waited outside. Elena oversaw everything remotely, ready to trace any hacker who tried to interfere. To ensure security, they used only telephones, no smartphones, because the main core had no internet access. Without connected devices, it was nearly impossible to hack. As the staged event began, renowned doctors arrived. Hirsch checked their identities and noticed one man trying to sneak in a smartphone. Upon investigating, she discovered that the man had once worked closely with Dr. Skinner's colleague. She immediately asked Doug to keep an eye on him. The presentation began. The speaker announced the creation of a cure for HAPNA, explaining how they had reversed its damaging effects on humans. Elena noticed a hacking attempt and tried to trace its origin. At the same time, the stadium's power went out. Chris was confused, wondering how a power outage could occur. Elena reassured her that a backup system was available and would restore power shortly. However, the main concern was that the hacking attempts had abruptly stopped, as if someone had purposefully misled them. Elena then informed them that someone was already inside the facility. Meanwhile, Leland confirmed that the power outage wasn't artificial, it had happened naturally. Suddenly, someone attempted to steal the fake medicine. Security swarmed him, But it turned out the man just wanted to use the cure to survive. Then came the real threat. The hacker responsible for all the chaos was revealed to be Popcorn. She was enjoying herself, turning everything upside down with ease. Even the facility's robots began behaving erratically. Popcorn laughed, taunting them to try harder. She also gained control over the ACS, making the building unbearably hot. Hirsch was shocked that she had taken control of such systems. Popcorn then targeted the main core itself. Elena realized there were 50 simultaneous hacking attempts happening, but not from 50 people. Instead, 50 different devices were being used. Elena then deduced the truth. The hacker had used walkie-talkies, not smartphones. She activated a pre-programmed countermeasure called Silverblade to combat the breach. She had intentionally saved corrupted data in the core as a trap. Everyone was amazed by her foresight. While AXEL fought off the normal-functioning robots, Elena traced the attack's origin. To their surprise, the hacker was operating from Pakistan's stock market. In the Pakistan Stock Exchange, inside an advanced mobile van, sat Popcorn, enjoying herself and mocking Elena's defenses. She praised the clever data trap Elena had planted, saying it had been fun. However, Popcorn soon vanished from Elena's radar, and the team lost her location. Feeling responsible, Elena apologized to everyone for her failure. Just then, a call came through from Popcorn herself. The group wondered how she had managed to contact them. When Elena answered, Popcorn cheerfully said it had been a long time since anyone gave her such a challenge. She praised Elena's hacking skills and promised they'd meet again. Then, she hung up. Despite everything, Elena smiled. She seemed proud that someone as formidable as Popcorn had recognized her talent. Next day, in the team's hideout, where Doug placed an old magazine on the table, Chris looked at it and joked that magazines were outdated. Doug clarified that it wasn't just any magazine and its one page was a photo of Dr. Skinner alongside a professor. Turned out that, 15 years ago, Skinner had visited a group called Commune, a community he believed was made up of geniuses. Axel speculated that this might be a lead. Perhaps Skinner had left behind some evidence with them. Doug explained that Commune had built an isolated society, disconnected from the outside world, and now it is called Tower of the Truth. This shocked Elena, though she brushed it off. Doug continued, revealing that the people of Commune worshipped a unique deity which is called Naga. They believe it would one day grant them immortality. Their current leader was the same person who had once worked with Dr. Skinner. Billy Hirsch asked Elena if she could find any information about this place. Elena admitted she couldn't because it was her hometown. Commune systems were offline and highly secretive. Everyone was surprised to learn that Elena had grown up there. Elena decided to return to her hometown to investigate, but the team insisted on taking someone with her for safety purposes. Leland was reluctantly chosen. The group soon set off. Only Ilana and Leland would enter the place. Before they left, Axel gave Leland a flare and told him to use it if anything went wrong. They would rescue him immediately. As they approached the Tower of Truth, the residents were stunned to see her return. Elena herself grew nostalgic. A woman named Hannah recognized her, rushed in for a hug, and expressed how happy she was to see her again. Elena introduced Leland as her friend Leon, and Hannah welcomed him warmly. The group made their way toward the main building and an elderly woman greeted Elena, expressing how harsh the outside world must have been. Leland was shocked to see the woman to interact like this to Elena. Then, Billy appeared, welcomed Elena back, and reassured her that the Naga would protect her. He also welcomed Leland, saying he would soon become part of the family. Despite the warm welcome, Elena appeared deeply uncomfortable. Later that evening, Hannah collected all of Leland's tech gadgets, including his phone and smartwatch, and asked if he had anything else connected to the internet. Leland lied, saying no, though he still had his wristband. That night, Leland couldn't sleep and stepped outside to use his wristband. It failed to connect to the outside world. Ilana confirmed their fears. They were completely cut off. Back at the hotel, Doug asked Hirsch for the list of the researchers who have worked in the past with Skinner. Hirsch then altered Doug that the FBI was also making moves on the Tower of Truth. Outside his room, Doug met Chris, who was worried for Elena and Leland. But Doug reassures her that Leland and Elena are not some kid. They are members of LAZARUS, back with Leland and Elena, who sat on a mountain. Leland asked if the woman they saw earlier was Elena's mother. Elena said yes, but clarified that in the commune, the idea of family, as others knew it, didn't exist. No one referred to their parents as mom or dad. The entire community was one big family, and even Elena didn't know who her real father was. The next day, Hannah explained that the people of commune were entirely self-sufficient. They built everything: tools, medicine, food, without any outside help. Later, everyone gathered around a massive dining table for lunch. Hannah asked what people in the outside world did to survive. Leland lied that they worked part-time, and Elena encouraged him. He went on to share wild stories, being held at gunpoint by debt collectors, chased by thugs, and even disguising himself as a woman for a job. Reflecting on it all, he felt his job was the worst job. Billy and others prayed to the Naga for blessings. Then, everyone was handed a strange soup that had to be consumed to become part of the community. While Elena drank it without hesitation, Leland hesitated. But Billy encouraged him, and he eventually drank it, reluctantly. Billy then declared that Leland was now officially part of their family. Meanwhile, Doug proposed a theory to Chris. The Naga was an AI with Dr. Skinner's brain encoded into it. Around 15 years ago, Skinner and some other researchers made it for an experiment and filled it with a desire for power. But now the AI have become Naga. Back with Elena and Leland, they were seen praying before the Naga, along with the rest. Leland whispered that he'd searched everywhere, but hadn't found Skinner. Time to execute Plan B. As they discussed their strategy to steal data about Skinner, Hannah overheard everything. At night, Elena and Leland sneak into the power plant. Elena instructed him not to cut off power to the Naga, only the rest of the city. Leland complied, and they headed to the main Naga system. As Elena began hacking it, Leland kept watch. Just before she could complete the process, a flashlight beamed on them. Billy and others appeared and said, "Nothing escapes the Naga's eyes." Elena's mother was there too, suggesting Elena's heart still wasn't pure. Back with Doug, who now received the information about the former researcher, now knows that Billy the cult leader was also a researcher alongside Skinner. Doug shares that Billy got so obsessed with Naga that he decided to steal it, and used it to establish a cult, and started to feed Naga's desire with it. Axel voiced his own concerns. If the Naga's brain was truly a copy of Skinner's, wouldn't it also be capable of the same violence? Perhaps it even wanted to destroy the commune members. Elena and Leland were captured and locked up. Elena warned that purification was coming in. Those who underwent it never returned. Leland asked if that meant they were going to be killed. Hannah then arrived and revealed the truth. They were to be burned alive. Leland was horrified. Elena pleaded with Hannah, asking if she truly wanted this to happen. But Hannah snapped, shouting that while Elena had escaped, she had never known what freedom felt like. Elena tried convincing Hannah to leave with them, to see the outside world. Hannah refused. But before Hannah could leave, Leland told her about the flare in his bag, and told her to use it if she also wanted to be free from this cult. The next day, Leland and Elena were tied up, blindfolded. Just as the flames approached, Hannah rushed toward them, flare in hand, the one Axel had given Leland. She used it, signaling the outside team. The community mistook the flare as a divine sign from the Naga. Billy declared it was time for sacrifices. Everyone entered the main building, where Billy pressed a large button, activating red lights everywhere. He claimed their god was about to be set free. But at the last moment, Axel and his team stormed in and rescued Leland and Elena. As Billy stood before the Naga system, he proclaimed his loyalty only for the massive machine to collapse on him, killing him instantly. The FBI arrived soon after, confirming they had also tracked the cult and started to blow off the fire and rescue people. As they prepared to leave, Leland thanked Hannah for using the flare, but all she do is look at him silently. After the incident, Axel retrieved a chip from the Naga's core. But before leaving, Axel asked Naga what was his objective behind this. Just as Axel turned to leave, the AI system spoke. It said the humans had programmed it to become a god, and that being godlike meant being cruel. Then it asked, "Have I become God now?" Axel responded coldly, "No, you're just a cheap machine." Back at their base, Doug began extracting information from the chip which contained the Naga's memory. That night, Elena quietly entered Chris's room. When Chris asked what was wrong, Elena simply said she wanted to sleep beside her. The two lay down together. Then later, Axel repaired a strange machine. Chris then asked him if he was really just 23 years old. She seemed shocked, saying she had assumed he was 27 or 28. Doug chimed in, stating that he too was 23. Chris turned to him, surprised, and exclaimed that she thought he was 40. Leland then asked Chris about her age, guessing she might be 30. Chris firmly denied it, prompting him to guess, again, maybe 26 or 27. Chris's smile gave her away, and everyone realized he had hit the mark. She was likely around that age. Leland then revealed that he was only 16, prompting Chris to pinch him playfully and say he was far too mischievous for someone his age. Meanwhile, Doug was still sulking over being mistaken for a 40-year-old. The group turned their attention back to Axel and asked what he had been working on for so long. It turned out they had been preparing for a barbecue, but lacked fire or oil. Axel revealed his surprise. He had constructed a flamethrower. Unfortunately, when he used it, it overcooked everything. Their barbecue was completely burnt. Then, a video showcases a news report revealing that the last major Arctic ice sheet had melted. Strangely, a video of Dr. Skinner had gone viral, an old interview from earlier in which he had screamed that this glacier would melt exactly 3 years from that date. He had predicted not just the year, but the exact day, and Chris was stunned. Just then, Hirsch arrived, apologizing for being late. She briefed the group on their failed missions, saying even the FBI had come up empty. Everything had to be restarted from scratch. Doug agreed, and decided to check the old footage of Skinner. As the team prepared to reanalyze old footage, Axel tried to eat the charred meat, but it was completely ruined. They replayed Skinner's video, which included a cryptic reference to the seventh trumpet. When asked what it meant, Doug explained, according to ancient beliefs, each trumpet signified a disaster. The seventh was the warning of humanity's final destruction. After that, survival would depend entirely on human actions. Skinner had likely used the term to warn that humans had only two options: find him and survive or perish within 30 days, but now only 15 days remained. Doug then picked up a machine that was analyzing the chip of Naga. After the analyzing was complete, they discovered strange codes on the analyzing machine. The team debated their meaning. Doug suggested they could be anything. Axel joked they might be someone's phone number. Elena guessed it could be an encrypted message. While Doug speculated they might be coordinates, Axel tried calling one of the numbers. It turned out to be a ramen shop. But Doug found something interesting. The numbers were, in fact, geographical coordinates, all pointing to 4 locations deep underwater, not on land. The team was puzzled. Why would Skinner be interested in submerged land? Hirsch asked Elena to check the history of the coordinates. Elena discovered that Skinner had purchased the rights to those underwater areas. Doug added that those regions hadn't always been underwater, they had submerged about 10 years ago. Axel said was only one way to find out, they had to go. Later, Hirsch reported these findings to her boss, Abel. He asked her to meet him. Later, he was seen heading to an art museum with his secretary, Liz. She asked why he was visiting, and he replied that he wanted to see the artwork one last time to say goodbye. Elsewhere, each team member headed to one of the 4 underwater coordinates. Doug arrived first in his car, but found the entire area flooded. He hired some locals to take him to the precise location. Initially, they refused, but he offered more money, and they agreed. Axel reached his location and hired a boatman to help him too. Meanwhile, Alania, who was on the base, gathered snacks to enjoy others' journey on her big screen, while Leland tried hiring a boat. He was told that at least 10 passengers were required, but he offered extra money to go alone. Meanwhile, Chris bypassed all that by buying a private yacht. As they all approached their respective destinations, Alania monitored their progress while enjoying her snacks. Axel used his wristband to confirm he was almost there. Doug reported he was close. Leland did the same, but Chris was already at her location and about to dive. Just then, she noticed another boat circling the area suspiciously. Axel reached his coordinate. Doug arrived next. Leland also made it. Suddenly, Leland then asks everyone if Lazarus will disband after he finds Skinner. Doug and Axel agreed, but Leland thinks that's kind of lame, showing how fond he has become with the team. Doug dove underwater and discovered old submerged buildings and houses. Chris surfaced, saying she hadn't found anything, but after a very long time, she saw blue skies and clear water. In Babylon City, everything was always hidden behind pollution and artificial clouds. She wondered if Skinner wanted them to experience this too. See what a world without humans looked like. Back with Axel, he noticed that the boatman who helped him had a bruised face. When Axel asked, the man claimed he had collided with a flying bird but didn't feel pain. Axel asked if he had taken the HAPNA drug, but the man said he hadn't. He had a rare disease that made him immune to pain, and strangely, many locals in the area had the same condition. Axel shared this intel with Doug. The man then revealed that Skinner had bought the land for them 10 years ago. Before that, they had all been poor. Doug asked Alania to investigate the transaction records. Meanwhile, Hirsch met Abel at the art museum and asked why he had called her. He admitted that he had intentionally dragged her into the Skinner investigation and apologized. Hirsch replied that she too wanted to find Skinner. Now there were questions only he could answer. Abel spoke fondly of Skinner's sincerity. Hirsch agreed. Abel then asked if Axel and his team would find Skinner because the FBI had started to look for him. Hirsch responded with confidence as in Axel. Back with the team, their research revealed that all the submerged land's residents were once struggling with the problem of money. Skinner had bought the land and helped the people start a new life outside the island. Elania traced all the related financial transactions, and to everyone's shock, they all led back to Dr. Hirsch. She was stunned. Elsewhere, Chris was returning. When she spotted someone passing by, her expression froze. She clearly recognized her. Trying to avoid attention, she looked away and started to walk, but the woman stopped her. "You're Alexandra, aren't you?" The stranger said. Chris stood frozen. Later, we saw someone playing the piano. It was soon revealed to be Chris's dream. She woke up to find herself bound, her hands tied tightly, and the freezing temperature around her made it feel like she was in a place close to 0 degrees. Back with Leland, who had returned to their base with his belongings. He noticed the expressions on everyone's faces and asked what had happened. Seeing Chris was not there, Leland asked about her. Then Hirsch was going to announce about her kidnapping, but Doug then interjected, saying they had something even more pressing to address. Ilania had completed some research and uncovered the names of researchers who had worked alongside Dr. Skinner. On the large screen behind them appeared Hirsch's photo proving she had been involved in Skinner's project. The group turned to her, demanding an explanation. Hirsch confessed she had once worked with Skinner on Project HAPNA. However, before the project could be completed, Skinner vanished. He reappeared 3 years later. By then, HAPNA had become deadly. Hirsch claimed she had no idea about Skinner's true intentions, nor did the team know the drug's actual structure. Leland didn't understand anything going on there. But he brought the focus back to the urgent matter. Where's Chris? Meanwhile, Chris remained captive aboard the ship. A man, Sergei, entered and taunted her, asking if she could guess where she was. Chris replied that the freezing temperature, the smell of oil, and fish indicated she was on an oil rig. Sergei was impressed, noting she was once a spy for the Russian side. Without warning, he slapped her hard across the face. At that moment, the same woman from earlier, Inga, entered the room. She glared at her and said she had waited 3 years for the chance to kill her with her own hands. She accused Chris, whom she called Alexandra, of betrayal. Back at the base, Ilania used Chris's wristband to determine her exact location. She is near the Arctic, inside an abandoned oil rig. Doug told her that from his assumptions, the oil rig is used by Russian spies as their hideout. Hirsch then revealed a shocking part about Chris's wristband, that if she will not be rescued in 3 days, the wristband will cut off her bloodstream, which will eventually kill her. She then revealed a shocking truth: Chris's real name wasn't Chris, and her face wasn't even her own. She had undergone plastic surgery to take a new identity, and for Hirsch to believe in her, Chris made a special demand for a wristband. Like that, Inga on the ship told Chris she was believed to have died
in an airline tragedy
3 years ago. Her body was never recovered, but she had never believed Chris was truly gone. Axel then suddenly stood up and told everyone that rescuing Chris will not be difficult. Hirsch tried to stop them, as Russian spies are not easy to deal with. But no one stopped. Doug even told her to execute them through the wristband. But they are going to rescue Chris later. Inga left Chris alone, telling her subordinate that they wouldn't report about Chris to their superiors. This was personal. Sergei then came in, but Chris taunted him again as the man was defenseless in front of Inga's orders. Angry, he slapped Chris hard again. Meanwhile, the team reached the airport, only to find that all flights had been grounded due to extreme weather. They wondered how to proceed, until Hirsch called and said she had arranged private helicopters for them. Although this wasn't part of their main mission, she couldn't abandon Chris. Now, Chris was being violently beaten by Sergei. Despite her injuries, she refused to submit, calling him weak and worthless. His frustration grew. Meanwhile, Doug, Axel, Leland, and Ilania reached their target location. Ilania said that once she got internal access to the oil rig, she would hack into the entire system, inside a small boat covered in snow. Leland was hiding and used his drone to monitor Russian spies' movement, while Axel infiltrated the ship to rescue Chris. As Axel made his way into the ship, Ilania guided him remotely. Doug, nearby in a boat, used a comparatively smaller ship to cause a distraction. With the help of Axel, Ilania was able to hack the ship's system. The Russian team on board began to suspect intruders were nearby. Meanwhile, Sergei continued to threaten her with a knife, claiming that accidental deaths during interrogations weren't uncommon. While Sergei continued to interrogate Chris, other spies left the room on Inga's order. A fake ship sent by Doug suddenly rammed into the Russian oil rig, creating a massive explosion. All attention turned to the impact, providing cover for Axel. Meanwhile, Chris seized the moment to fight back. She attacked Sergei with her feet and managed to slam him to the ground, even though her hands were tied. Chris then freed her hand and ran from that room. Ilania finally located Chris in the hallway and directed Axel there. Chris, now on the run, navigated through the ship as Ilania used a hacked crane to knock out several enemies. Everyone watching was stunned by Ilania's precise coordination. Leland informed Axel via drone that 2 enemies were closing in. Axel took them down quickly. Doug, meanwhile, was taking out threats with his gun. Just as Axel was about to advance, Sergei and another spy cornered him with a weapon, demanding to know whose side he was on. Leland, seeing this, launched his drone directly at the attacker's face, distracting Sergei. Axel disarmed and knocked Sergei down, but somehow Sergei was able to throw Axel off the oil rig, but Ilania saved him using the crane. But then, a sniper shot Leland, forcing him to leap into the open water. Doug rushed to pull him to safety. Axel finally reached Chris but accidentally pointed his gun at her before realizing who she was. He caught her as she collapsed, telling her she was safe now. Chris, however, broke down emotionally. She asked why they had come to save her, insisting she wasn't worth it. Axel reassured her that her past didn't matter. Axel told her to stay put, promising to return. Just as Chris waited, Inga returned and aimed a gun at her. Chris calmly told her to shoot. She said dying by her hands would be an honor. Though she had changed her name and face, her feelings for her friend Inga remained the same. Inga asked why she had betrayed her. Chris replied that during the tragedy, her heart had stopped. She was moments from death and decided Alexandra should die that day so that Chris could be free. She had hoped her former friend Inga would never be harmed if Alexandra would die, and then she could live a peaceful life. Inga was hurt, reminded Chris of the promises they had made to always stay together. Their past bond was clearly deep. Just then, Sergei, having seen everything, declared both of them traitors and shot Inga. Chris watched helplessly as her friend died in front of her. Axel arrived seconds later and shot Sergei dead. Alarms blared. The entire ship was now engulfed in flames. Axel told Chris they had to escape immediately. Chris, grief-stricken, held her fallen friend. Her dying words were, "Now you live for both of us." An explosion rocked the ship as Chris cried. Axel picked her up and jumped into the sea, just in time. Elania watched through surveillance, instructing Doug and Leland to prepare for extraction. Axel surfaced with Chris using an oxygen tank and spotted Doug's boat. Axel gave a relieved smile and told Doug the mission was a success. The whole team rejoiced. Later, we saw a man eating steak. From his expression, it looked like he had grown tired of eating it daily. A waiter approached and asked why he always ate the same thing. Why not try something new for a change? The man replied that his body currently required high protein intake. If he wanted to prepare for future threats, this diet was necessary. Meanwhile, back at Abel's office, his secretary, Liz, entered to remind him about an upcoming meeting. She asked if he was nervous, to which Abel calmly responded that he wasn't. Back at the Lazarus team's base, Chris slowly regained consciousness. Elania was sitting beside her and told her she needed to rest more. Chris asked where Axel had gone. Elania replied that he and Doug had gone out shopping. At the market, Axel told Doug he had only managed to find a few useful items. Doug discreetly switched off the recorder in their car and said they were now free to speak openly. Axel quipped, "Are you about to ask me on a date?" Doug rolled his eyes and replied, "Even if the world ended, that would never happen." Doug then asked something serious. Did Axel think that if they caught Skinner, Hirsch and her superior would grant them their freedom? Axel wasn't so sure. He suspected that even after Skinner was captured, the Lazarus team might be erased. And they might kill them too. Doug silently agreed. Meanwhile, at the Pentagon, Abel was seen shaking hands with a commander, Hayes. Liz noticed a man walking away just as he was about to be introduced by Hayes. Curious, she asked who he was. Abel explained that the man's name is Schneider. Abel doesn't know him personally, but he is a smart guy. The meeting began. Representatives from across the world had gathered to discuss the Lazarus team's progress. Hirsch was present too. One man criticized the Lazarus team, accusing them of using Skinner's manhunt as an excuse for recklessness, attacking a Russian oil rig, destroying facilities, and causing chaos. Abel admitted the criticisms were valid, but insisted he still trusted the Lazarus team. Another woman questioned whether that trust was wise. After all, wasn't one of their members a former Russian spy? Schneider added that he had made contact with the member of the Lazarus, who had been gathering intel for him. That spy would testify whether Lazarus was trustworthy or not. And then the shocking truth emerged. The spy was none other than Leland. Meanwhile, Doug shared his suspicion with Axel. He believed Leland was a spy. His clue: Leland had 2 phones. That was all he needed to raise doubts. Soon, Leland was questioned by the panel and Schneider. They asked whether he believed Lazarus was doing its job effectively. Leland admitted they were trying, but there were still things to improve. He was then asked whether saving Chris had been a selfish decision, especially when they should have been focused on Skinner. Leland firmly replied that Chris was a key part of the team and vital to capturing Skinner. Saving her had been necessary. Schneider even asked Leland about Axel and confirmed if he is the same guy who has escaped the Arizona prison and whose records are also erased. Leland told him maybe, but it is sure that Axel loves to break out of prison. At last, the panel held Lazarus guilty and decided that they will be held responsible for all the chaos they have caused till now. Suddenly, a man announced to the panel that Skinner had just uploaded another video. In this video, Skinner declared that in this span of 20 days, no one has come to visit him and called the government foolish, who are still fighting in the Arctic Ocean, rather than trying to find a way to survive. He then announced that after 10 days, the first consumer of HAPNA will die, who is none other than Skinner himself. So if the government wants to save the world, they have 10 days left with them. Abel then started laughing and told everyone that he agreed with Skinner, who thinks that survival is the most important priority for now. He told the panel that they should disband Lazarus, but questioned after 10 days who will be held responsible for the end of the world. The panel understood that and announced to let Lazarus work temporarily for 10 days. After the conference, Schneider told Hayes that the guy they are looking for is definitely Axel, but Hayes warned him that Axel is not easy to catch. But Schneider is not going to catch Alex himself. He will hire somebody else for the job. Abel and Hirsch then met Leland. She lightly punched him and told him that he made her really worried this time. Leland told her that Schneider and the others contacted him, trying to have him by their side. But as Leland's father was a very close friend of Abel, he can't break their trust just like that. Back with Chris, who was getting ready to rejoin the mission. She noticed a small medicine, one she had picked up from Skinner's home. She handed it to Doug and asked if he recognized it. Doug asked where she had found it and was surprised she hadn't mentioned it earlier. Chris admitted she had forgotten. At that moment, Leland entered and watched everyone working together. Guilt weighed on him. He felt like he had betrayed them. Back with Schneider, where a mysterious agent arrived. He introduced himself only as HQ. He claimed that his assassin could handle any job, but his price was $30 million. The group was stunned. HQ smirked and told them to scan the QR code on the back of his card. That would lead them to his demo. He promised to show them what he was capable of. Next, a group of military soldiers arrived at the demo location, skeptical that one man could defeat them. They approached casually, unaware of the trap waiting for them. Hidden in the shadows was a lone fighter, a Chinese man who watched silently as their helicopter landed. As the soldiers entered, the mysterious fighter launched a brutal surprise attack. Despite their best efforts, the soldiers were quickly taken out. The fighter used wires and shadows to his advantage, slicing through the squad with ruthless precision. Eventually, only one soldier survived, only for being late. Suddenly, HQ, who had hired the assassin, arrived. There, he reminded Hayes that this was the test stand. The results were clear. Shocked, Hayes admitted the assassin was incredibly powerful and agreed to move forward. Later, a news reporter delivers grim updates. According to Dr. Skinner's last warning, in 7 days, the first victim of the HAPNA outbreak would die. Although a week remained, hospitals were already overwhelmed with patients suffering from high fevers. Tests confirmed that these symptoms were linked to HAPNA. The government urged people to stay home if they fell ill, as hospitals had reached full capacity. Even if they arrived, they likely wouldn't receive treatment. Back to the Lazarus base, where the team was analyzing the mysterious drug Chris had recovered from Skinner's home. Chris wondered if it might be the antidote to HAPNA, but they discovered it was actually a drug designed to prevent blood clotting, usually administered to patients with artificial hearts. Axel asked Hirsch if Skinner had an artificial heart. Hirsch replied she knew Skinner had a heart condition but hadn't known he'd received an implant. Doug speculated that if Skinner had undergone a heart implant, there had to be a record. Elania quickly checked all known artificial heart implant databases but found no trace of Skinner. Axel suggested that perhaps Skinner had hired a private surgeon, someone off the grid. Chris scoffed, saying such things only happened in movies. But Hirsch disagreed, saying elite private hospitals did exist, reserved for only the wealthiest, where medical details were kept secret. At that moment, Leland, who had been silently sitting nearby, stood up. Without much explanation, he began dressing formally, surprising everyone with his sudden transformation. Normally casual, Leland now looked like someone heading to a high society event. He asked Axel and Doug to accompany him, claiming he had a lead. Leland led Axel and Doug to a massive gate. Looking into a surveillance camera, he announced himself as Astor Leland, and the gates opened. They drove through toward a sprawling mansion, leaving both Doug and Axel stunned as they stopped. A man rushed out to greet Leland, calling him Leland-sama, and expressing how long they had waited for his return. He admitted they weren't expecting his friends. Leland explained they were important allies who had looked after him. The greeter apologized and welcomed them inside. While Doug and Axel sat nervously, Leland appeared completely relaxed. Leland's sister, Isabella, entered and addressed Leland mockingly, calling him the so-called son who had finally returned. She sarcastically asked what brought him back after 4 years. Isabella looked at Doug and Axel, thinking they were thugs or thieves. She cooled down slightly, but remained bitter. She expressed frustration over their father's outdated will, which allowed only male heirs to inherit the family estate. If the rule had been fair, she would have been in charge by now. Leland then proposed something surprising. What if she married someone to claim the estate? She exploded with rage, furious that he would suggest marrying a stranger. Isabella began throwing pillows at Leland. Even though she slapped him, Leland remained calm. Eventually, she broke down and admitted he had to take responsibility now. Their older brothers had died, and the burden had fallen on him. Leland confessed he had no childhood memories of their father. She asked if he meant he wasn't really their biological brother. He confirmed it. Still hurt, Isabella said she wouldn't help unless he stayed there permanently. Axel and Doug watched, quietly, realizing the weight Leland had carried all this time. Perhaps he had brought them here to see that for themselves. Later, her tone softened. She apologized for her anger, and acknowledged that even though Leland hadn't visited in 4 years, she knew he had placed flowers on their father's grave. Leland admitted it had been him. She finally asked why he had come. He explained. She agreed to help. On one condition, he had to spend this weekend with her. Leland told her that he will spend the next weekend with her. Isabella was confused, as the world will be dead by next weekend. but Leland clarified that he is here because they are going to save the world.
At the private hospital,
Leland presented himself as Aster Leland. A doctor came rushing out. Her name is Millie. She was delighted to see him after so many years. She canceled all her appointments and let him in. Meanwhile, Abel showed Hirsch an older video. In it, Skinner was seen at an airport, smiling and interacting with a child. Abel assumed that Skinner might be smuggling HAPNA prototypes at that time. Suddenly, the armed soldiers of INSCO arrived in the airport as they received the news of biochemical attacks by a terrorist organization. From the other side, airport police also arrived. It seems there was some kind of miscommunication between them as they were aiming at each other. Suddenly, a luggage fell. Thinking the opposition had started shooting, soldiers and police started to shoot at each other. In the process, a bullet hit Skinner's suitcase, which caused smoke to come out of it. Hirsch realized that it was not the biochemical attack that killed people instantly at the airport in the past. It was the smoke from Skinner's bag, which was probably the prototype of HAPNA. Hirsch told Abel that after this incident, Skinner seemed like a new person. He cut himself emotionally from others. Abel then told Hirsch that after 1/2 year, HAPNA again reappeared in a very different place, the A-Man prison in Arizona. The same prison from where Axel escaped. Back to the hospital, where Millie told Leland that Skinner had indeed undergone a heart transplant. His data was being monitored. Doug thought that now they could track Skinner then. But Millie clarified directly that after the surgery, Skinner encrypted the monitoring system of his heart, so they no longer can track him. She then tossed Leland a pen drive containing monitoring details, so maybe they get something from it. Before he left, she added that Leland's father always spoke proudly of him, saying he represented their family best. Leland was touched. Back at the Lazarus base, Leland returned and confessed to hiding something else. Axel guessed it immediately. "You were the spy, weren't you?" Leland was shocked. "You knew. Why didn't you say anything?" Axel said calmly that everyone was there for a reason, and they understood his situation. Leland's eyes filled with tears. Axel consoled him, telling him not to cry like a baby. Alania then inserted the pen drive. She discovered that Skinner's heart implant was still being monitored, meaning the controller could be tracked. The signal's origin, the same place where they had previously encountered the popcorn hacker Pakistan. Suddenly, Axel received a call from Hirsch, asking him to secure a witness. Alania suggested that even if they couldn't catch Skinner directly, they could catch the one monitoring his heart. Doug suggested calling local police, but Alania stopped him. Then Alania requested permission to join the mission to catch popcorn. She insisted that only she could detect popcorn. Doug initially was not ready, but then agreed, saying he'd go with her to help face any challenges that arose. Meanwhile, Axel was in his car, where Hirsch explained the shocking truth. He had been the subject of the original HAPNA experiment. He was the only survivor. Everyone else had died. Hirsch mentioned that the doctor who was in the prison that time is still alive, and now his life is in danger, so Axel has to ensure his safety. At the same time, the assassin of HQ continued tracking Axel. "Why me?" Axel whispered. "Why was I the only one who lived?" Just then, the assassin stepped into traffic and hurled a grenade, causing a massive explosion on the highway ahead of Axel. Meanwhile, Alania and Doug boarded a plane heading for Pakistan. Back on the road, Axel found himself stuck in traffic. The explosion had created a deadly blockade, and the assassin now marched toward him from the smoke-filled highway. Alania and Doug's plane landed in Pakistan. Alania started tracking Popcorn's location. Doug noticed her flushed face and asked if she had a fever. Alania checked and realized she did, but insisted she was fine. Back at base, Chris noticed Hirsch leaving in a hurry. When questioned, Hirsch revealed that agents of INSCOM were tailing Doug and Alania. INSCOM was hiding something, and it needed to be uncovered. Hirsch handed Leland a sealed letter, asking him to give it to Abel when he arrived. Meanwhile, the assassin spotted Axel. Seeing him, the assassin jumped into Axel's car and started shooting. Luckily, Axel's bulletproof windows saved him. He swerved the car and threw the assassin off. As his car is not in condition to work now, Axel jumped outside the car and joked from behind another car, "At least say hi first." The assassin hurled another grenade, forcing Axel to dodge again. Axel teased him, saying it looked like he really loved grenades. But the assassin wasn't done. He tossed another one into the road, causing a massive explosion and complete traffic gridlock. As Axel tried to escape, he realized the edge of the road had no drop. He hung from the ledge while the assassin took aim. Just then, Axel let go, landing on a moving bus beneath him. To his shock, the assassin followed relentless. Axel muttered that he had clearly underestimated this guy. The assassin was much more powerful than he seemed. Back in the United States, Hirsch visited military INSCOM headquarters, hoping to negotiate. Simultaneously, Abel arrived at Lazarus base. Leland handed him the letter Hirsch had left. Chris was surprised to learn that Abel was actually the founder of the Lazarus.
Back with Axel
and the assassin then fight above the truck. Both were skilled at close combat, and clearly both of them know martial arts. But suddenly the assassin throws Axel. Axel again was hanging against the truck, but suddenly assassin threw another grenade, which made the truck blast. After the blast, they fight on the billboard. Axel was frustrated because of the assassin's same boring, repetitive move. Meanwhile, Hirsch confronted the U.S. Army Vice Commander Schneider, furiously, asked him to stop the men he had sent behind Doug and Alania to hunt them. Schneider refused to answer, prompting Hirsch to threaten exposure. She warned that she knew about the HAPNA experiments, about how only one boy survived, and how they used prison's inmate as a testing rat for the new drugs. A group of armed officers arrived, and Schneider told Hirsch that they were going to arrest her. Back at Lazarus HQ, Abel read Hirsch's letter and realized she had gone to negotiate. He muttered that since she hadn't returned, the mission had failed and she'd likely been arrested. Just then, Liz called him, saying she had discovered some shocking footage. As Abel reviewed it, he saw the assassin attacking Axel. Liz admitted they had no idea who he was, no identity, no data, no records. Abel gasped. That's the Phantom Assassin. In Pakistan, Doug and Alania continued their pursuit of popcorn. During a quiet moment, Doug asked her, "If we catch Skinner and everything goes back to normal, what will you do?" Alania smiled weakly. "I think I'll finally eat a McDonald's burger." Suddenly, they noticed someone tailing them. Alania asked what to do. Doug offered to create a diversion while she chased popcorn. "Let me be a good guy for once." He wasn't going to die, just surrender to distract the pursuers. Back with Abel, he told Chris and Leland that the Phantom Assassin is no ordinary guy, as till now, and whoever has seen him never makes it alive. Seeing Axel's life in danger, Chris grabbed an assault rifle and raced out to save Axel. Meanwhile, Abel told Leland he was going to rescue Hirsch and asked Leland to stay put. Doug got out of his car and surrendered to the pushing INSCOM's agents. They asked where his partner was, just as Alania sped away on an electric scooter. One agent gave chase, but Doug popped their car tire with a precise shot, giving Alania the chance to escape. Back with Axel, he was dangling from a train. The assassin loomed above, asking, "Aren't you afraid? You're smiling even now." Axel replied calmly, "I've seen death too many times. We're old friends now." Assassin again threw grenades, but Axel kicked it back towards, catching the assassin off guard. Meanwhile, Alania, burning with fever, reached a narrow alley, thinking it was the end. But suddenly, she spotted Popcorn's van and ran after it. "Stop," she yelled. The van came to a halt, and Popcorn herself stepped out, smiling as if she had been waiting for her. But Alania, exhausted and sick, collapsed on the spot. After the blast, injured Axel somehow climbed a nearby boat, but Assassin was already there waiting for him. Axel gets up, ready to fight. Axel and the assassin clashed with everything they had. Despite the odds, Axel managed to wound the assassin. But then the assassin noticed Axel's pendant and froze. He asked Axel if he knew about Honduna's secret society that trained elite assassins. The assassin recalled memories from his brutal training, how Hundun erased their identities, molded them into emotionless killers, and eliminated everyone else who was training with him. He was the only survivor from his batch. Assassin snapped out of his thoughts. He threw his spear towards Axel, while Axel threw his machete, which he found nearby. Both of their aims were precise this time. While the assassin's leg was injured, Axel was stabbed by a spear. As the assassin advanced toward the injured Axel, he demanded to know what Axel truly knew about Honduna's secret society. Just then, Chris arrived, armed. Chris opened fire, forcing the assassin to retreat and dive into nearby water. She dropped her gun and helmet and rushed to Axel's side, desperately trying to wake him up. Axel was now in terrible condition. Axel was brought to the Astor family's private hospital. Millie was shocked to see Axel still alive, even by the fatal spear attack. Then, Alenia, burning with fever, woke up inside a van. She realized she was being welcomed by none other than Popcorn Wizard, who was praising her skills. Popcorn revealed her real name was Lynn, and asked Alania to call her that. As Alania nervously checked her bracelet to see if Doug was okay, she noticed his heartbeat was still stable, confirming he was alive. Doug, who lay in a hospital bed, upon regaining consciousness, he immediately pretended to still be unconscious as he heard footsteps approaching. Some agent stood near him for a moment, then left. Once they were gone, Doug muttered to himself, "They're keeping me alive. Must be watching me closely." Meanwhile, Hirsch was shown being held in a secure location, and then the perspective switched again to Abel, who was heading to meet the president. In the car, he asked Liz to dig for information about the Phantom Assassin. "So are you in hospital?" Axel finally woke up. Chris, watching over him, asked how he was feeling. Axel said he'd had the same recurring dream, one where he was about to die, only to be saved by an angel. This time it felt different. "Could that angel be you?" he asked Chris. She replied, "I'm no angel." Axel then asked what had happened to the assassin. Chris told him the man had fled, though he was badly injured. At that moment, Millie entered and reassured Axel that he was safe now. She added, "You're quite lucky. The world ends tomorrow, and here you are recovering peacefully." The words shook Axel. He tried to get up, but winced in pain. His wounds were too deep. He told Chris that he has to go secure the witness, but Chris told him that the witness is already dead. Abel, who had arrived to meet the president. She greeted him with a knowing look, saying, "You're here for help. What is it you want?" Abel replied that he had 2 specific requests. In the Lazarus back, we saw Leland playfully accusing a silent cat of being Abel's spy. Moments later, Dr. 909, the hacker, appeared with Liz. Dr. 909 asked Leland if they had met before. Leland didn't talk much to avoid revealing too much. Meanwhile, Lynn told Elenia that she had been waiting a long time for her to find her. They reflected on their journey as elite hackers and acknowledged how much they had changed the world through their skills. Elenia asked why Lynn was helping Skinner, saying she seemed like a good person. Lynn opened up about her past. She had grown up in a small village in the Maldives, where a mysterious disease spread, making people unable to feel pain. She demonstrated by violently hitting her leg. Lynn recalled how Skinner had arrived during that crisis and buyed their island from them, helping them to establish a new life. That's why Lynn believed in her mission. She was sure he meant well. Back in the hospital, Axel told Chris that the assassin kept asking about Hunden. When Chris searched the name, she found nothing. She joked that it was odd they were fighting and exchanging questions at the same time. Axel confirmed it. Chris asked, "If you had died, who would I even inform?" Axel replied solemnly, "No one. There's no one to tell." He then asked her, "You don't have anyone either?" Axel explained that he used to have 2 childhood friends who had become like family. They'd shared everything, even crimes. Chris asked where they were now. Axel said both had died, and he carried a pendant in their memory. That loss kept him from getting close to anyone else. He was afraid of losing more people. Back with the president, Abel requested permission to launch a raid on the military INSCOM itself. Shocked, she asked why. Abel admitted it was difficult to explain, but assured her it was the only option. She removed her glasses, revealing a strange glow in her eyes, and confessed she had taken the drug even before it was officially launched. So, as being president, it could be her last order. She allowed Abel to raid INSCOM. She then asked for his second request. Back at Lazarus base, Dr. 909, who was trying to investigate Soryu, they found 0 records, no data, not even on the deep or dark web. Liz suggested they investigate the Agent HQ more thoroughly, suspecting something wasn't right. Meanwhile, Hayes scolded Schneider, accusing him of failing to kill Axel. Schneider tried to defend himself, saying he'd done everything possible. At that moment, he received a call from HQ. Furious, they shouted, "You were given one job."
But HQ replied, "It have become personal now, and no matter what, he is going to kill Axel."
Interestingly, he seemed to have the same injuries as the assassin. Back to Popcorn revealed something shocking. She showed Alania the real-time heartbeat of Skinner. Skinner had instructed her, if someone found her, she could share his location. Finally, the Lazarus team had at Skinner's current location, Babylonia, the city where Lazarus base is also situated. Chris received a call from Liz and Leland, who asked her to come to the base to confirm the assassin. Chris told Axel she was heading out. Before leaving, she asked if he had any final regrets. Axel said he had none. Chris, on the other hand, admitted she did, then kissed him. Axel watched in silence. Abel gathered his forces and ordered them to prepare for a raid on the INSCOM. Meanwhile, multiple officers arrived in the room. Hayes was lying dead. Schneider explained that Hayes had threatened him, even attempted to kill him, so I acted in self-defense, he claimed. Later, Chris identified the HQ as Soryu, who attacked Axel. Liz declared that Soryu suffered from multiple personality disorder. Chris was stunned. She then asked her about the Hunden. Liz was shocked. Meanwhile, the agents approached Doug's bed intending to kill him, but when they struck, they realized it was just a decoy. Doug had already escaped and was ready for a counterattack. With help from Lynn, Doug's hospital bed was remotely controlled, rammed the attackers, and pushed its way out. Outside, Elenia and Lynn were waiting. Meanwhile, Abel with his force arrived at INSCOM headquarters and told Schneider that they were here for raiding the place and arresting the responsible. He also took Hirsch back. Schneider responded sarcastically, pretending not to know her, but it was just a joke. Back at Lazarus base, Alania shared the big reveal. Skinner was definitely in Babylonia City in the homeless community. The group reacted with concern. The homeless community was massive. It wouldn't be easy to locate him only in one day. Doug reassured them he had a plan. He asked Lynn to take a detour, and she obeyed, breaking through roadblocks and launching the van off a broken bridge, landing them at an hidden hypercube station. Alania asked what it was. Doug explained it was a hypertrain system, still under construction, but approved for emergency use. The team prepared to head straight to Skinner, using the high-speed line. Before parting ways, Lynn handed Alania a phone and said, "Use this to contact me anytime. You'll always be my best friend and my best rival." They exchanged final smiles and said goodbye. Meanwhile, Axel receives a message on his phone. Millie nearby glanced at the screen and teasingly said it sounded romantic, like someone had invited him on a date. "But," she added, He was in no condition to be going anywhere. Axel chuckled and asked if he was really that helpless. She confirmed it, in a grim tone. He joked, "Then maybe we'll meet in heaven." She smirked and replied, "More like hell." Axel nodded. "Fair enough, not that it matters. I have a feeling I'll be alive for a while longer." Abel then confronted Schneider, accusing Inscom of illegally developing bioweapons without government authorization. Abel then arrests Schneider for endangering global safety. Schneider tried defending their actions, claiming every country was doing the same. One insisted they would one day be seen as heroes. Abel rejected this justification and told them to explain it to the courts instead. Elsewhere, Visionary worked feverishly to extract classified data about Hunden. He said he would need the president's password to proceed. The team panicked, but Visionary confidently promised to crack,
as hacking was, after all,
his specialty. Meanwhile, the train arrived in Babylon City. As Doug and Elenia disembarked, an officer asked how the ride had been. Doug replied it was pleasant and now they needed a car. Abel managed to free Hirsch from custody and informed her that they had finally located Skinner right there in Babylon City. Elenia explained that Skinner was hiding in the city's vast homeless community, which would make tracking him difficult. Hirsch recalled that Skinner always loved living near greenery. Leland added that he had seen tulip plants at Skinner's grandmother's house he had visited. Skinner must have a special connection to them. Meanwhile, Visionary successfully accessed Hunden's training records and discovered how Chinese officials were training assassins under their government. Back at the hospital, Millie called Chris and informed her that Axel had escaped. Chris asked where he had gone. The doctor answered cryptically, "To where angels live." Realizing what that meant, Chris ended the call and told Leland she was going to retrieve a certain idiot. Then, Inscom surveillance cameras caught Axel fleeing toward Babylon City's main tower. An announcement warned all citizens to stay away from the area. The tower itself resembled the wings of an angel. Axel climbed to the top, and, upon seeing the Soryu, remarked, "So you were waiting for me." It was revealed that Soryu had sent Axel the mysterious message. Axel questioned why. On the eve of the world's end, the man was still hunting him. He asked what he wanted to know. Soryu said he needed answers about Tunden's. They began their final battle. Though Axel fought valiantly, his injuries held him back. Visionary and Liz revealed how the assassin had been conditioned as a child, trained to suppress all emotion and become a flawless, unfeeling killer. Teachers at the Hunden facility repeatedly told him he was a monster with no heart, no soul. As the Soryu pummeled Axel, those voices echoed in his head. He was reliving his trauma, hearing the screams of instructors asking him to kill everyone. Then Liz revealed another revelation. Years ago, a trainee at the academy had slaughtered all the students and teachers in a bloodbath. That boy had escaped. The incident was so horrific, it was erased from records. The Soryu remembered what his mentor once told him, "You are our most successful project. You are finally a monster." Just as Soryu prepared to finish Axel, a helicopter arrived and opened fire. Axel noticed Soryu carried a rocket launcher. Using himself as bait, Axel drew the chopper's attention. Soryu took the shot and destroyed it, causing the flaming wreck to crash into the tower's angel-shaped statue. The entire statue began to collapse, taking both Axel and Soryu down with it. From a distance, Chris was racing toward the tower, knowing Axel would be there. Miraculously, Axel survived. He searched for Soryu and found him badly injured but alive. "You're still breathing," Axel said. "You wanted to know about Hunden, the Chinese legend. All I can tell you is after the Hundan got the holes bored into the face, it died." Soryu finally remembered it had been him. But now, he declared, he was no longer a monster. And then, he closed his eyes. Chris arrived moments later and asked Axel if he was okay. He assured her he was. Chris invited him to hop on her bike. They had found Skinner. Meanwhile, Abel revealed the final truth. The only thing left to do was locate Skinner. He also confessed to hiding a major secret. Years ago, Skinner had tried to leave the country with toxic samples to prevent HAPNA from being weaponized. The government had tried to stop him. In the chaos, the case leaked, killing innocent civilians. Abel told the team, "You were among the ones who died that day and came back. Your bodies adapted. That's why HAPNA doesn't affect you anymore." Everyone was stunned. Then Hirsch and Leland met with Jill. Hirsch asked if she knew anything about tulip flowers.
She did and took them with her.
That moment, Chris and Axel arrived, but a police officer tried to arrest Axel. Axel told him, "If you're an honest man, forget us. Go arrest Skinner and save the world. People will praise you." The officer hesitated, then agreed and left. Axel had outsmarted him again. Jill recalled how, 3 years earlier, an old man had arrived,
eyes fading but spirit still strong.
The group found Skinner sitting by a river surrounded by tulips. Hirsch pointed her gun at him and said, "It's over, Skinner." He replied that he had wanted to see her one last time, but he was now blind. Hirsch asked why he hadn't taken the cure. "Are you trying to die and escape responsibility?" Skinner said no, and handed over a small note. On it was the formula for HAPNA's cure. He explained what had happened the day he had tried to flee the country. At the airport, the army and police opened fire without warning. His toxic samples leaked, killing innocent people including a child. He had just smiled at moments before. From that day on, Skinner stopped believing in humanity. He vowed no one would ever turn his invention into a weapon. Axel stepped forward and asked, "If you had a choice, Skinner, would you destroy this world?" Skinner asked in return, "Do you think this world deserves to live?" Axel said, "It's cruel, it's unfair, but we can't just let it disappear. That wouldn't be right." Just then, Skinner smiled for last time and passed away. At that moment, sirens blared. Police approached. Axel and Doug aimed their guns at Hirsch. As Axel and Doug knew of Hirsch and her superiors' plan to erase Lazarus after finding Skinner, just then, Abel arrived and said there was no need. The president had called everyone was free. The bracelets on the Lazarus team unlocked and fell off. Abel declared, "You've saved the world. All your past crimes have been pardoned. You're free to go." Then he added, "But I want something from you. You're the perfect team. Why not stay together? There are still mysteries to solve." Everyone looked at each other in shock. Leland spoke first. "I'm in." Chris followed. "I don't have anywhere else to go. I'm staying." Elenia smiled and said, "It's fun working with you guys. Count me in." Douglas agreed too. Now, all eyes turned to Axel. He grinned. "We're not done having fun yet. I'm staying." In the final scenes, the HAPNA cure spread across the world. People returned to normal. Stock markets recovered. The world began healing. Skinner's grandmother sipped tea at home. Hirsch laid flowers on Skinner's grave. Chris enjoyed a solo trip. News headlines read, "Goodbye HAPNA, welcome pain." People were finally able to feel again. Leland returned home. Greeted by his older sister, Doug got scolded by Millie for a fractured bone. Elania scolded Visionary for messing with her system. He apologized it. Abel and Liz strolled through an art museum once more.
Finally, Axel slept peacefully and free from world trouble.
And thus, the story of Lazarus ends here. Please like and subscribe.